want to talk about dishonesty when it comes to club events. If you don't have any intention of playing goth music at your event at all, don't put it on the flyer, because it is a total bait and switch. And it's even more of a kick in the teeth when you put goth on your flyer and you'll just play that one goth song just to appease in like a 5-hour night. So this happened to me very recently. And this is also one of the reasons that I'm not quick to promote an event unless I've actually been there and I have good reports from there. Because I don't want people to show up to an event and be disappointed and then it's my fault. So this is the reason that when I went, I didn't let anybody know what was going on. I didn't tell people about the event. I didn't say, hey, come out, new place. I wanted to make sure that what they were advertising was what you were getting. And it turned out to 100% not be the case, which I kind of expected, but I was hopeful and I was frustrated. I was disappointed, and it was kind of one of those things that had me wondering, now is this ignorance willful? Is this people that literally don't know about genre? I mean, I would hope that they would know about genres, considering that they have been DJs for that many years. Should know the difference between genres, so it kind of leads me to believe it's kind of willful ignorance, which is sad to me, because that means you're pulling a bait and switch on patrons. You're kind of putting an idea out there, getting their hopes up, and then they show up, and then you're delivering something else. And I just don't understand the point in that. It says on the label, should be what it is on the can, although this is just water, not death, but you get what I'm saying. There are so many different knock-on effects to this. You know, there are baby bats in the subculture, and they're going out for the very first time, and they're getting out there, they're getting their feet wet. They're excited for their first new events, but they're also very impressionable. They're new to the subculture. What you're going to play should be what is on that flyer. If you do not plan to play goth, don't put it on there. The reason genres are important is because it helps us find the music that we want to find. People like us, we've been in the scene for a while, we know what it is we're looking for. But when it comes to a baby bat, they hear a sound, they resonate with that sound, they want to find more. Because not everybody likes every subgenre within the goth scene. They kind of go through their trial and error and they find the things that they like. And when you can put a name to that, it makes life so much easier. They hear something, they hear Frozen Autumn, and they're like, okay, I like Darkwave. Or they hear Black Tape for a Blue Girl. Okay, that's ethereal. I like ethereal. Let me find more. So when you have the names to these things, it's going to help you find what it is you want to find. That's why these things are important. You have so many people outside the subculture trying to pile so many things into the goth subculture because they think that the name gives them edge, or for whatever reason. But either way, what it ends up doing is it takes that road that should be a very easy point A to point B, and it just fills it with rubble. And for people like us who know what we're looking for, it's not that hard. It just makes it an annoyance to sift through. But for new people, it's a lot harder because they don't know what it is they're looking for. They just know that there's this rubble in the way, and they have to kind of pick and choose and guess what is and isn't part of the subculture. So when it's coming from outside, it's frustrating and it's annoying. But when it's coming from people inside the subculture, that's infuriating altogether. So that's one knock-on effect. And then you have another when you have people who are looking forward to a night out. They're getting ready, they're going to go out, they're going to this event, they're all amped up, and they're like, okay, it says these genres on the flyer, I'm really excited, I'm going to go, I'm going to head to the event, and I'm going to hear these genres. And they show up, and it's all industrial. But here's the thing about that. You would think seeing industrial on a flyer really would be your tip-off, but no. Ever since the 90s, goth and industrial have gone hand in hand when it comes to club venues and nights, because we've always helped each other survive. Because when you put both things on the flyer, you're bringing in more people, you can get a bigger venue. So it was harder for individual nights to survive on their own. But back in the day, goth and industrial music was cohesive enough to where they could survive, and we can even share a dance floor. So it wasn't that big a deal. We were clearly defined separate subcultures, separate genres of music, but we came together quite neatly. So you have these people that come out, they pay the money, and they show up, and it's literally all industrial. I showed up, one of the first things I heard when I walked in was Combi Christ. Another thing I heard, Faderhead. Another thing I heard, I was hearing V&V Nation, Assemblage 23. I don't have a problem with things like EBM or future pop, or I'm not really a big fan of agrotech. I'm not opposed, but when you are promoting a night, you're promoting an event, don't make it 99% of the other genres and play one goth song. That's just a kick in the teeth. It really is, because honestly, the whole night I stayed there from almost start to finish, and they played 2 Sisters of Mercy songs, and I'm going to use finger quotes. One Sisters of Mercy song was an EBM cover of a Sisters of Mercy song. The second one, they did a live remix of it. It was This Corrosion. They live remixed techno into the chorus. Now, when you are just like, you're hanging on for dear life, you're like, all right, I came here to hear goth music. I'm just going to hear one song, have a twirl on the dance floor, and just go. And the one song they play, they remix it live and put techno in it. You're just like, I'm done. So that to me, I really was frustrated, and I'm like, that's it. I'm so frustrated with this. But it's something that shouldn't happen. I want to go back to goth and industrial music going cohesively back in the day where we used to share venues. So back in the day, it really did go together quite neatly. We really helped each other along. We got along. There was never any rivalry or anything like that. We were all friends, but we respected each other and we needed each other. But nowadays, the thing with modern day industrial is that it's no longer cohesive with goth music anymore in the sense that it's similar. Because older industrial music, if I remember, if I don't do it, remind me in the comments and I'll put it in. But older industrial music had a lot of similarities in terms of tone, in terms of just energy when it came to goth music. So hearing it on the dance floor side by side like that, it meshed. However, as industrial music changed, it has become a different thing, and it just, we had goth and industrial kind of moving side by side, parallel for so many years, and industrial kind of just did one of these. And it's very different now, and they're no longer cohesive. This is something that I talked about before, but New York City around 2005, the scene completely tanked, and the goth scene was pretty much dead for a long time. And it didn't really start picking up again until fairly recently. When I say fairly, I have a very odd concept of time. I'm going to say within the last maybe 8 years. It really started to pick back up again. Maybe a little bit less than that. However, it was dead for a while, and the reason for that is by way of the music not being respected. Musical misconceptions. So we're talking a place called the Batcave in New York City. The Batcave was an iconic goth club in New York City, played goth industrial music, but you had a good mix of both. It was one of the first goth clubs I've ever been to when I was like 15 years old. I had a blast. Between the Batcave and the Bank, these were basically they were like home to me. So around the early 2000s, what we started to see is that there was a new kind of group of people coming into the clubs. And this is more specifically, I want to say the Batcave, that this started to happen. Where now the flyers still said goth, industrial, etc. So, and it was a well-known, renowned night that did play goth music. But we started to see a surge of people, I think it was like the overflow from different house clubs and raves that started to come in. These are people who very largely listen to things like club music, house music, techno music, very much electronic. And as they begin to show up, they started to dedicate the lower level of the Batcave. The Batcave was 3 floors. They started to dedicate the lower level to this crowd where they were playing all this electronic music. And these people they're dancing on platforms, they're dancing on the stage, they're dancing on various things. They're just go-go dancing with their glow sticks, having a ball. And slowly, that kind of moved up to the middle floor. It's more of a seating area, but their ascent was not lost on me. Then suddenly, they're on the 3rd floor. The top floor is where the goth music and the industrial music and the new wave and all the other music is played. So as they move upstairs, this is when I saw the shift in what music was played. So the industrial music became more EBM, and the goth music slowly became more scarce and started to turn more synthpop. And the thing about synthpop back then is not synthpop now. Very, very different. Synthpop back then are things like Division, things like Wolfsheim, things like Beborn Beton, Kie The Vez, those kinds of things. Very different to the synthpop that you may know today. So we're hearing things like that, which is slower, it's more melodic, and it kind of became the replacement for goth, but it happened so slowly that we didn't even realize. So we're going, and it was kind of like the antithesis to all of the aggressive, fast industrial music. We would go into a different room, and suddenly we're dancing slower to Division, and we just kind of accepted it for some reason. And it took a while until we just sort of snapped out of it. A lot of the other goths, they stopped going, and slowly less and less goths showed up because of this. And it was to the point now where it was literally only synthpop and electronic music, no goth music to be heard. And for every goth they lost, there was kind of a new raver in their place. And needless to say, the place could not sustain, and Batcave closed down. Not long after, the bank closed down, and then you had places like Man Ray in Boston. They closed down same year. And it was something that was happening all over the US, where all these goth clubs just started tanking. And that is something I'm fearful now that we're really getting built back up and doing so amazingly. I don't want to see that happen again. So the reason that kind of thing was able to happen is because the music and the subculture wasn't respected. And it wasn't respected in the sense of holding up to what was on the flyer. It wasn't holding up to what was being advertised. It had been this one thing for so long, and it had been doing amazingly, but then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, they decided to cater to one crowd and completely reject what was on the flyer, and those people eventually just slowly stopped going, and then the scene tanked. And I do not want to see that happen again, and I'm afraid that it's going to happen again, because if this kind of thing keeps happening, it wouldn't be a complete impossibility to say that it wasn't possible. And now, especially during a time like this where the scene is doing freaking amazing. New York City has got it down on lock. If you make it out here, if you go to New York City, go check out the Red Party. Anything, say, DJ Andy Harriman's doing. She does Synthicide, Talon, you have Procession, you have Svmmon. So keep an eye out, have a look around, and you have all of these different events in New York that are going on. The amount of shows that we've been getting as well, I'm super freaking excited about. So to anybody that DJs, anybody that has a club night, if you're promoting and you have goth on your flyer, play the damn music. You have absolutely nothing to lose by playing the music that you advertise to play. Otherwise, the only thing that you're doing is you're advertising a genre that people are excited to show up and hear, and then they don't. And they've paid a cover charge, paid you for nothing. So it's really dishonest. And it's really, really frustrating when that happens, so don't do that to people. But I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time. Bye.